Life, where we help you get the great loving relationship that you're looking for without having to play hard to get, without having to play mind games, and without having to pretend to be someone or something other than who you are, because I believe that you deserve to be loved for who you are. And if you believe the same thing, do me a favor by giving this video a thumbs up, subscribing to the channel if you are not subscribed already, and make sure that you hit that bell icon next to the subscribe button so that you can get notifications next time we go live. Also, we're going to be talking about how to deal with emotionally unavailable men in this video. So if you want to learn more about how to set yourself up to have the great relationship that you want, please go ahead and check out our free class over at modernlove.life/class. Okay, so this is about emotionally unavailable men, but of course, like we talked about last time, this it is also very possible for women to be emotionally unavailable as well too. So it's not just a one-way street here. But typically the kinds of behavior that we're going to be talking about are those exhibited by, classically speaking, emotionally unavailable men. It doesn't necessarily have to be this way, blah, blah, all that asterisk stuff. But, you know, just have to put that in there so that we don't have to elaborate every time we bring up the topic of men or women. So, yeah. Emotionally unavailable men, they may put you in situations where you're sort of involved in a quasi-half relationship with them. You know, it's not really a real relationship because you're like officially in a relationship. You're not, you know, moving in together. You're not advancing towards something that might look like marriage or whatever your particular goals for a cold behavior, things of that nature, right? And you might say, okay, great. So I've noticed this. I now recognize that I have an emotionally unavailable man in my life. What do I do about it, right? How do I deal with an emotionally unavailable man? And here are some things to keep in mind. Number one is you have to make sure that you have standards for yourself, standards for your relationship, and all of that stuff, right? Because an emotionally unavailable man doesn't have the capacity to be there for you in a relationship for any number of reasons. You know, it could be external things like maybe he has some sort of crazy stressful job where he has to work 80 hours a week. It could be other things like maybe he just is afraid to settle down. He is afraid to actually choose a single particular person and commit to that singular particular person because of many of the things that we talked about, such as the paradox of choice and other things that go beyond that we've talked about in previous videos. There are a lot of factors that could be involved. And if you're not careful, you may end up just as a friend with benefits or something of that nature. And if that's not something that you want to end up as, then you need to have some hard boundaries, some hard standards of what you're willing to accept and what you're not willing to accept, right? And I can't give you like a list of like, okay, these are your 5 standards or anything like that. They're your standards. You have to know what's important to you. You have to know what your boundaries are. You have to know where you're willing to go, what you feel comfortable doing or what you do not feel comfortable doing. But here's just some things to keep in mind. Like, okay, so one of the biggest standards that women believe that they need to uphold is the idea of, you know, waiting a certain period of time before sleeping with a guy. And I don't think that just having an arbitrary amount of time is a good strategy. What I think is that, you know, you can go ahead and sleep with a guy as long as this is something that you can feel good about, enjoying in the moment for what it is, without it necessarily leading to something else. If this is some sort of, you know, scheme or tactic, like, okay, I'm going to sleep with him, and then he's going to want to commit to me because I slept with him or something like that, then it comes with strings attached, then it has an ulterior motive, then it becomes like a covert contract. You know, if you're familiar with other things that we've talked about in the past, you may have heard that term covert contract before, but basically it's an ulterior motive. And so if you are using sleeping with him as a tool to advance your own agenda, then you are setting yourself up for a lot of disappointment, a lot of pain, and opening the door to a lot of bad things that could potentially come your way. So that's something that you might want to think about when it comes to what your particular standards may be. But again, these are your standards. You have to know, like, okay, am I okay with this? Am I not okay with this? But whatever it is, own it. It's your standard. It's not Clay's standard. It's not your friend's standard. It's not your mother's standard. It has to be your standard, right? That's the first thing to keep in mind with emotionally unavailable men is you got to have those standards and you have to enforce them. The second thing is that you want to really ask yourself, is this the relationship that I want? Do I want this relationship? Not, are you in love with this emotionally unavailable man, but are you okay with the relationship that the two of you have? The halfway committed relationship. Are you okay with that halfway dynamic? Are you okay with things the way that they are right now? If you're not okay with things the way that they are right now and they don't seem to be progressing very much moving forward, that's a big problem. Okay, that's a very big problem. And you might need to talk to him about it. You might need to do some soul searching. You might need to say, hey, is this really the person that I want to be with? But you have to really ask yourself, is this the relationship that I want? Not, are you in love with him? Not, do you want to be with him? Not, do you hope that someday he commits to you or anything like that? But is the current dynamic something that you actually enjoy? Is it something that is uplifting to you, that is giving you what you want, that is making your needs met? The third thing to keep in mind is that you cannot expect him to change. You cannot expect that you are going to change him. Do people change? Absolutely. Can people change? All the time. That's one of the main reasons why I help people is because people absolutely can change. People are able to change the way that they're bringing themselves to an interaction, to a relationship, to a dynamic. They're able to do these things all the time. And so, but the thing is, you can't expect for you to change him, okay? If he's going to change, he's going to want to change for himself. He needs to be able to change for himself. It's not because you said something. It's not because you did something. Furthermore, it's not because you're not doing something. He's not not committing to you because you're not doing something. It's just how he is, most likely. I mean, sure, there are certain things that you absolutely can do that are going to stop people from wanting to commit to you. But I'm guessing that you probably have at least enough awareness to avoid those extremely obvious things. But most likely, this is just how he is. And he's most likely going to stay this way until either his external situation changes for some reason or other. Maybe he's emotionally unavailable because he's in a very rigorous and intense academic program and he doesn't have the time or ability to spend in a relationship with you. But maybe that rigorous and intense academic program is coming to an end at some point when he finishes the program, graduates, gets his degree, his certification, his credits, whatever. Or unless he decides, hey, I'm not living my life in the way that I want to, and I'm getting older, and I'm tired of being the creepy old guy at the club, and I actually want to have a relationship. I actually want to get married. I actually want to start a family and all of that. And he has this light bulb that goes off in his mind, and he's suddenly saying, okay, maybe I need to actually think about settling down instead of just being indecisive, being hot and cold, being back and forth, and all of that stuff. But this, again, has to be a choice that he makes on his own, out of his own free will. So, you have to be able to accept him as he is. If you cannot accept him how he is, then he might not be the right guy for you. Fourth thing to keep in mind is you want to make sure that you keep your boundaries. Maintain your boundaries, right? He's going to test those boundaries. He's going to, do things like call you at 2 or 3 in the morning, ask that you'll come over or something like that. And, you don't want to posture and lash out at him and make him wrong for doing that, but you still also want to have your boundaries. You also, if for example, being a friend with benefits is not something that you want to be, then you have to have that boundary. So when that call comes over, you don't just drop everything that you're doing and rush over to his place, but maybe you say, and I'm going to, are we back? Can you hear me? It says we're still recording. If you are watching this, please post a comment letting me know that you can hear me, that you can see me. That would be much appreciated. I'll give you guys a moment to figure this thing out, and to post a comment if you're there. Okay. Satanya says yes, we can hear you. Okay, great. So we're going to go ahead and continue. Let's see, where were we? Yes. So you need to keep, the fourth thing is you need to keep your boundaries. You need to maintain your boundaries based off of your own standards, right? So you don't want to punish him if he goes up against your boundary because, in all likelihood, he doesn't know what your boundary is. And he's just kind of asking for the sake of seeing what's available, what is possible between the two of you. And, sure, if you lay down that boundary and he continues to bump up against it and step over it and everything like that, sure, that's one thing. But if it's just like the first time he asks you to come over in the middle of the night or something like that, he probably doesn't know your boundary and he's not intentionally doing it to violate your boundary. He's just seeing what's available, right? And, as an emotionally unavailable guy, he's probably going to want to do things like that. So don't be surprised by that. Don't make him wrong for it, but just simply state your boundary. If he continues to do it, up the ante. Say, hey, this is my boundary. I'm not going to do it. I told you I'm not going to do it. I'm still not going to do it. And, obviously, continue to escalate things as need be. Obviously, the only exception to this would be anything that involves, abuse of any sort. But, most of the time that's probably not going to happen. So that's the fourth thing. I really hope this recording is all one singular recording once this is done. I've never had this happen on a live stream before, but let's find out. The fifth thing is if he is not meeting your standards, if he is not meeting your needs, if you are not getting your needs met from him or from the relationship with him, then you need to let go, okay? If you are not getting your needs met in sort of a long-term scenario and you're not seeing much, if any, progress towards things kind of lining up in a way that meets your needs, then you need to get realistic and you need to say, okay, this is probably not going to get my needs met. I can't change him. I have my own standards. He's not meeting my standards. I've set my boundaries. This is not the ideal relationship that I want to be in as it is right now. I might love him, but this is not the relationship that is getting my needs met. Therefore, I need to let go. Therefore, I need to create space in my life for somebody who can and will get my needs met. Okay, guys, so that's what to do if you are dealing with an emotionally unavailable man or potentially a woman. If you like what we're doing here, once again, give this video a thumbs up if you're still with me, if you haven't dropped off due to the connection issue. And please feel free to subscribe to this channel so you can get more videos when we do them. With that being said, let's see if I still have access to the comments from earlier. Oh, look at that, I do. Okay. Lance says, hello, Clay. Helen says, I'm first. Sorry, Helen, I don't think you were first. I think Lance beat you. Hello. Good to see you. Wow, guys. Thanks for all the love here. Hello, Clay. My ex seems emotionally unavailable. I came to visit him in his country. He barely talked to me and didn't get back to my message since I'm back home. How do I react on that? I miss him. Okay, so you went to the country that you're from, and I guess he lives there as well too. You messaged him, I'm guessing something along the lines of, hey, I'm back home for a while, you want to get together. He didn't message you. How do you respond to that? Well, you can just, what I would probably do in that situation is I'd probably understand that he's probably not open to talking to you right now, okay? For any number of reasons, for maybe whatever happened in the past, for whatever didn't happen in the past, for whatever dynamic the two of you have, he's just not open to talking to you. But at the same time, you also want to voice how his actions impacted you so that he can actually start to learn from that, right? It can be helpful for a person's individual growth to get feedback on how their behaviors and how their choices are impacting you. And, if there's enough pain stacked up on, for example, an emotionally unavailable guy, he might decide, okay, I need to deal with this. That being said, of course, you can't expect that this is going to change him, but if you broadcast this enough and if he hears this feedback enough, he might realize, wow, I'm being kind of a jerk. I don't want to be a jerk. I might need to change my ways, okay? But I would probably just send him something like, hey, I was really hoping to get together with you. I'm really upset that you didn't even respond when I was in town visiting. But I totally understand if, given what happened, if you weren't open to seeing me. But still, I thought I would at least be able to get at least a response from you or something like that. Something where you're detached from outcome. You're not like sending this hoping that he's gonna jump on a plane and come visit you or anything like that. But you're just giving him feedback about how his way of being impacted you, how his choices impacted you, how his decisions impacted you, and that can start to accumulate to the point where he decides that he wants to stop being an emotionally unavailable person and actually be somebody who might actually respond when people message him. But again, you can't have this as an expectation of I'm going to do this and then this is going to happen as a direct result, okay? You're just basically saying, hey, I really wish this happened. This is the impact that it had on me. What you did impacted me in this way, right? And so that's probably what I would do in that particular situation. Okay, my ex jumped into another relationship instantly, and it's going so fast. We had a 4-year-long relationship and plans to get married. I put so much effort into creating and building trust. Now she forgets everything and blocked me. Okay, yeah, I mean, this is like a totally emotionally unavailable rebound relationship kind of scenario, right? We talked about this in the past in our series on rebound relationships, how rebound relationships are a symptom of emotional unavailability, how everybody following a breakup is pretty much emotionally unavailable, at least temporarily, and how people in rebound relationships who are, again, emotionally unavailable will tend to do what's called displacement. They'll try to fast forward the next relationship up to the level where the kind of previous one was. So the new rebound relationship might be moving very, very, very quickly. And it's not because that relationship is so much better. It's not because it's meant to be or anything like that. It's essentially because your ex is trying to recreate the relationship that they had with you, but with somebody else in it, because the relationship that they had with you is familiar, it feels normal, it feels good, and all of that stuff. And it's just a symptom of kind of the emotional unavailability, the kind of poor handling of their emotions, and all of that stuff that's going on beneath the surface. Don't take it personally, just understand that that is what's going on. And again, I know it can hurt. I know it can definitely seem like the rebound relationship is like better than the one that you had or something like that. But just remember that that's just a story that you're telling yourself in your mind. And when you tell yourself this story in your mind, it's going to cause you to feel a certain way, sad, depressed, anxious, frustrated, angry, whatever. And if you don't want to feel that way, all you have to do is change the story you are telling yourself. So instead of telling yourself, oh, I can't believe they're moving on so fast, I can't believe how replaceable I was, I can't believe how little our relationship meant to them or something like that, just say, wow, look at them. They're dealing with their emotions in a completely sloppy, irresponsible kind of way. I just feel bad for them, or, whatever it might be. But as soon as you can start to change that story, you'll start to change the way that you feel. And as soon as you start to change the way that you feel, you'll take different actions, and you'll be taking different actions, and you'll of course be getting different results and outcomes in your life. So, once again, I'm really sorry that that's happening. I know it's not fun, but you can start to change the way that you feel about all of this based off of how you choose to think about all of this. Hello, it is Steve. My ex-girlfriend says that she can't be with me, but she will miss me. Do you think that we've got a chance to get back together? We finish on good terms. Misses you, but can't be with you. It just means that there is still a lot of hurt, there's still a lot of pain, there's still a lot of baggage, there's still a lot of unresolved issues that happened leading up to the breakup or during the breakup or after the breakup. And, obviously she still says that she still has feelings for you, which, means that she's still emotionally attached to you, but it's that pain that's keeping her distant from you. And so if you want to make things work, you really just have to clear away those emotions that are blocking her from actually coming together with you and getting back together, forming a connection, starting a relationship again, or whatever it might be. And so you have to look at what happened, what didn't happen. How did your actions impact her on an emotional level? How did your actions most likely make her feel? And like, what would it need to be? What would you need to do based off of your knowledge of her personality, her past, her history, and all of that stuff, in order to actually create a positive emotional connection that she would actually be excited about exploring what's possible with you? So, I mean, really, that's all that there is. That's all you need to do if you want to bring that relationship back, if you want to clear away those emotions and possibly explore the possibility of getting back together. Jiro says, "How are you doing today, Clay?" Doing pretty good. We're getting some sun. I think you can see some of the sun like reflecting off of this tape here onto my face. It's really good. I'm really glad that winter's over here and some good weather's coming in. Here in Seattle, where I'm from, we get a lot of rain, and the good weather is kind of our reward for putting up with like 6 to 9 months of just non-stop rain and gray and short days and dark days and all that stuff. So I'm actually feeling really good about all that stuff these days. My boyfriend is at the wall of reactance for a year, and I don't know how to crack it. I'm so depressed, I can't even make money or afford anything that you have to offer. Okay, so if your boyfriend is at the wall of reactance, which is a highly emotional state where there's a lot of resistance towards interacting with you, then you have to look at why that is, okay? There are a couple different reasons that might be happening. Like we talked about before, because of the interactions that you've had before. Again, I don't know what happened in the past. Was it something involving cheating? Was it something involving betrayal? Was it something involving a big argument? Was it something involving you saying you would do something and then you didn't do it? Or something like that? If that's the case, yeah, that can probably leave a mark on him emotionally, and that can cause some resentment to build up to the point where he's like, no, I'm just totally closed off to interacting with you. And if that's the case, then the important thing to do is to clear that away, right? Reflect to him how your actions, how your behaviors, how all that stuff, how you imagine that made him feel, how you imagine that can, I wonder if we took a pause there while the phone was ringing. What a crazy day here when it comes to live streaming. Okay, so yes, as you start to reflect back to him how your actions made him feel, then that can start to loosen up some of that resentment to the point where he actually starts to feel more open, more receptive to talking to you, and he can actually put a lot of that pain behind him so that he can actually start to listen to you, actually start to hear what you're saying, right? So if you meet him where he's at on an emotional level, that is going to really help. The next thing that can help with reactance, emotional resistance towards interacting with you, is to look at how you're contacting him. Are you contacting him in a certain way that is causing him to close down, right? Put yourself in his position and look back at the past couple of messages that you've sent, or the past phone calls you've made, or the past emails you've sent, or whatever, and say, okay, if I was him, having been through what we've been through together, how would I feel having gotten this? And if it's just a message like, hey, what's up, or something like that, would you just be like, hey, I can't believe you're sending me this, just acting like nothing happened, like nothing is wrong, when really this whole thing happened before that, hurt me a lot? Okay, cool. Maybe you need to change your approach, or, whatever it might be, right? You have to look through his eyes at the messages that you're sending. You have to hear through his ears the calls that you're making, the voicemails that you're leaving, and stuff like that. And when you can start to do that, this will change the way that you're bringing yourself to the interactions, and it can possibly open him up for being more receptive to you. And of course, the third option is that sometimes time will decrease the volume on that emotional resistance to the point where he can actually start to feel more comfortable interacting with you, feel more comfortable opening up, because the events that happened aren't as fresh, they're not as real. Enough time has passed to the point where he can actually interact with you in a in a more relaxed and emotionally open sort of way, okay? So that's what I'd recommend if you were in that particular situation. Okay. Okay, yeah, it looks like there was a brief interruption in the live stream. Okay, I'm warning a lot about live streams here today, guys. Okay, Helen says, emotionally unavailable, maybe, could be people like this have unresolved grief or are wounded with trauma issues, parents and family upbringing and anger issues, not at you, but at past issues. Yeah, totally. Like emotional unavailability, it's not your fault. It's not like if you're dating somebody who's emotionally unavailable, it's not your fault. That is most likely how that person is because of things that have happened in their life, because of how they were raised, because of things that happened while they were growing up, because of childhood issues, because of psychological issues, because of all sorts of things like that. Okay, so don't take his emotional unavailability as your responsibility. Okay, it's his issues that he's dealing with. It's showing up in your interactions together because, obviously you're interacting with one another, and how he's bringing himself to those interactions are based off of his life experience, his emotional issues, his baggage, and all of that stuff. And it's not your responsibility to deal with that. It's not your responsibility to take ownership for his emotional well-being. It's not your responsibility to do any of that. And remember, you don't have to date an emotionally unavailable guy. If you're dating somebody and it turns out he's emotionally unavailable and that's not what you want, you can totally say, hey, that's great, but deal with your issues. When you deal with them, maybe we can date. Until then, I'm going to date somebody who is emotionally available, somebody who is able to give me what I want, somebody who can be the kind of partner, the kind of boyfriend, the kind of husband, the kind of whatever that I want in a relationship, okay? All right, guys, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up before we have any more technical issues here. But once again, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed already. And if you want to learn more about how to take your love life and relationship to the next level, please check out our free course over at modernlove.life/class. Anyway, guys, I may not live stream tomorrow. We'll just have to see. Have some things to do in the city, but we'll just have to see. May or may not happen. If it doesn't happen, you have been warned. But anyway,